Welcome to another edition of the official Catchup podcast. It's myself, Ben, and Chris. There is no Derek this week because I believe he's probably counting his hat collection. So we'll miss Derek, but both of us will run through what's happened in the Lowland League this week. Chris, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Missing the twat in the hat, as he's famously known online. I do like that. Whoever came up with that.
Twat in the hat. I mean, that's it. Got to admire it. He's probably, as I say, he'll be in he's in his house counting his hat collection, or he's reading hat enthusiast monthly or something. He'll be sitting down doing that. So he will be missed, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. So looking ahead then to the games that have happened over the course of the weekend, we'll start with the catch-up game of the week, and that was East Kilbride versus Bonnyrigg United at K Park. And it was a 1-0 win for East Kilbride, Chris.
Yeah, it kind of lost a wee bit of its allure. Obviously, with Stephen Aitken sort of stepping down from the manager position, yes. I think we were kind of, looking at East Kilbride and saying it's their worst start to a Lowland League season. We did kind of, think maybe his position was a wee bit under threat. East Kilbride don't really have a good record with managers of staying with them. I think it's fair to say. So this was a crucial match for them. Obviously, similar to Bowness, struggling a wee bit to begin with. But we'll cover the game first and obviously have a wee bit of a chat about it. On the 9th minute, a great ball over the top by Neil McLaughlin to Finlay, who shot hit the post, and it was over the line before it was smashed in before Craig Malcolm. There was a wee bit of debate of who got the goal, if it was Finlay or Craig Malcolm. It did look like it was Craig Malcolm that just got in there to steal it off Finlay. But early goal for East Kilbride. I'm sure they'll be delighted with that. 31 minutes in, it was a chance for Bowness. Sander Miller is through on goal. The East Kilbride players looked for a flag, but it doesn't come, and the striker just sends his shot over the bar. A couple of minutes later, a scramble near the goalmouth after a Bowness corner resulted in Skinner's shot being blocked before it could reach the net. Just before half-time, 41 minutes, the ball looked destined for Craig Malcolm's head at the back post, but a last-second touch from the defender sent the ball out for a corner, which was cleared. So it was half-time, and East Kilbride had the lead 1-0 there. 64 minutes, Finlay bursts through the Bowness defence to leave himself one-on-one with the keeper, but a bobble on the ball means he showed too much to the keeper, who smothers it. Bowness kind of obviously pushing to get the equaliser. A couple of minutes from time, Stephen Auld cuts out the square ball before it was tapped in, and East Kilbride clear. And there was a wee bit of controversy, or controversy, if you will, just a minute before the game was up, going into additional time. Bowness had the ball in the net and thought they had the equaliser. However, a flag on the near side cuts any celebration short, and it remains 1-0 with East Kilbride taking the win there. But yeah, I think Bowness were quite boisterous about the goal should have stood. There's been a few occasions, I think, this season already that we've seen with Bowness that they've kind of been a wee bit hard done by with decisions. Obviously, last week, I think Nicky Locke being sent off, for example. But it doesn't look like the luck's going their way so far this season. They'll be disappointed not to at least get a point there. But first one in the league for East Kilbride, they'll be absolutely delighted, especially if, depending if they're getting a new manager in. I think the situation is that Chris Aitken and Ian Durrant will be after the job.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, gutted for Uncle Stevie to be let go, but a difficult one for East Kilbride, and having been so low in the poor start. I know they had games in hand, but they really want to be up there challenging and use those games in hand to their advantage. So obviously for them it's disappointing. Bit of continuity right enough with Chris and Durrant sticking around for just now. They brought in, I think, a new boy. They brought in a boy from Rossvale as well, Jamie Finlay, who seemed to be man of the match at the weekend. It's funny, I was at the Buffs versus Rossvale game, and talking to one of the players, and he was saying, his mate Jamie Finlay played for Rossvale. I don't see him around, and we all thought he's one of their better players. And the next day I'm on Twitter and I realised that Jamie signed for East Kilbride, and that's why he wasn't playing for Rossvale on Saturday. So seems to be a good sign. A lot of good reports, and the guys who knew him when I was speaking to people on Saturday to say so. Could be the kind of player they need to just kind of get some goals and try and get them back up the table, and hopefully they'll still be looking to push for a title this year, but maybe a wee bit difficult given the start they've had. But we'll be interesting to see what happens, whether or not they do stick around with Chris Aitken and Ian Durrant. But if not, it'll be interesting to see. I think. I guess it's the thing, isn't it? They probably can go out and get a manager if they want one, but will they stick? Do they trust the guys that are there? Well, you would think that if those guys were there in the first place, they would be able to have a bit of influence already. So who knows? So perhaps we'll see a new manager come in fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, East Kilbride, obviously, I think it's fair to say they've had a few injuries and stuff like that. And I don't think we've seen Lee Miller yet. I'm not sure what's happening with him. And obviously, there always seems to be a bit of a hangover from the Premier Sports Cup for a lot of teams that are in it. We've kind of seen that previously in previous years. But yeah, it's difficult because you look at East Kilbride and think on paper, they are a really good team, probably should be right up there, but for whatever reason, it's not really worked out. I know. Derek was sort of speculating, along with others, whether Stephen Aitken was sort of pushed or if he stepped down his own accord. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult, but yeah, we'll have to see how it progresses now for them. But for Bo'ness, I think similar. They're obviously another team wanting to challenge, but it's again, I just feel like the luck's maybe not went their way. They've had a few results and a few things go against them where, if that's on the other side of the coin and things go for them, then these losses or drop points could easily be wins on the other flip side.
Yeah, opponents are likely to be pretty disappointed that they couldn't quite get a point or even get the win, but I think they'll still be okay. I think they'll maybe not win the league now. I think again you're starting to see teams the teams that are going to be dropping off, and it's one of those. I know it's going to still probably a 5-point gap between the top 9 or something like that in the league. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But we'll move on to everyone's favourite Bonnyrigg Rose, and they were playing Edinburgh Uni at New Dundas Park, and it was a 7-0 victory for Bonnyrigg Rose. It was a brace from Dean Hoskins and goals from Callum Connolly, Kerr Young, Nathan Evans, Ross and Scott Gray. Rounds off an impressive win for Rose. Rose did also finish the game with 10 men due to an injury, but they sit top of the league after a 7-0 win. I guess a disappointing result for Edinburgh Uni, but a great result for Bonnyrigg, absolutely. On that front, as they sit on top of the table now, kind of joint with Civil. It's going to be interesting, certainly in the next few weeks, to see how that kind of pans out.
Yeah, I think in the preview, I did sort of envision like a comfortable win for Bonnyrigg. To say that I thought they were going to put 7 past Edinburgh Uni, I would have been lying. But yeah, kind of what we expect, especially at home. But given the fact that I didn't think they played really well against Caledonian Braves, and they were coming off a disappointing loss to Queen's Park, a penalty loss in the cup at midweek. I think they felt they should have had a penalty, so that probably spurred them on to really go out and do what I think Bonnyrigg can do. They've probably not been a team that we really associate with scoring lots and lots of goals, but we know that they have got a lot of strength and ability, as we've seen. And yeah, Dean Hoskins seems to be on a bit of a scoring form, and then you've also got guys like Callum Connolly, who's pretty decent box to box, who can get in amongst the goals. And yeah, good to see Nathan Evans, obviously, who's recently joined in amongst the goals as well. Yeah, full credit to him.
See the singer, Nathan Evans. See the boy who does the sea shanties. I wonder if he's imagining the same guy. No, sea shanties by day, Bonnyrigg by night. There you go.
But yeah, you can't really speak you can't speak highly enough of that result. I thought it was interesting that obviously we did have a lot of big score lines. That one seemed to be a bit lost in the shuffle. I'm sure we'll get to it amongst the Colt sides later, but yeah, brilliant result for Bonnyrigg. It's like what I said last week. I feel Bonnyrigg and Spartans are maybe kind of been under the radar a wee bit, with the likes of Civil Service Strollers and Dalbeattie, the starts they've made. So it kind of puts them at the forefront now with a result like that.
Yeah, looking then onto Dalbeattie start versus the Spartans, it was a 3-1 win for the Spartans at Islecroft.
Yeah, when I spoke about this game, I did feel like this with no disrespect to the teams that Dalbeattie Star had already played, I did feel like this was the one that I thought that they could drop points at. So 80 minutes in, a goalmouth, Strumash sees the ball ricochet off legs like a pinball, and it's a final touch from Jamie Dishington that gives Spartans the lead. A bit of back and forth before half-time, but it was Spartans that took that lead into the second half, and it wasn't long until they extended that lead 10 minutes into the second half. Blair Henderson with a spot kick as Jamie Dishington is absolutely leathered by the Star goalie's fist in an aerial challenge, so Blair Henderson put the penalty away there. 10 minutes before time, Star closed the gap. Michael Bolo is adjudged to have appended a Star man in the box. Curry sends Carswell the wrong way, and it's game on. 3 minutes later, Spartans are down to 10. Sam Jones shown a straight red for an infringement in the centre circle, and it looked like a bit of a nervy finish for Spartans, but they did manage to seal it. In stoppage time, Michael Bolo launches the ball clear. It finds Scott Maxwell, who goes on a run and sends a low shot in off the post. 3-1 Spartans. Kind of what we talked about. I think Spartans a wee bit under the radar. Dalbeattie now lost the last two after winning the first 5. Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned with Dalbeattie. They do have some more favourable matches coming up, but they would have liked to have bounced back. But Spartans, as we know, similar to Bonnyrigg, I think will be up there towards the end of the season. So really decent result, especially with 10 men from Spartans, seeing that out. Dalbeattie might be a wee bit disappointed that they never at least got back into the game when Spartans went down to 10. But to be fair, there wasn't a lot of time left on the clock. So yeah, good one for Spartans. A wee bit disappointing for Dalbeattie, I would say.
Yeah, decent result for Spartans, and as you say, I think there's a lot of under the radar chat about Spartans and them sitting 1 point off the top with a game in hand. They're going to be right up there. I think I haven't seen anything from them yet to say that they're going to drop out this kind of sort of title race that we're going to have this season. But fair play to them, because I think a lot of the focus is on the kind of obviously the East Kilbrides, probably Shires, obviously the Colt teams, Bo'ness, Bonnyrigg, but Spartan and Civil seem to be doing the right stuff and got plenty of potential, I think, for that title challenge. All right, looking ahead to the next game, it was East Stirlingshire 1, Civil Service Strolls 1 at the Falkirk Stadium. Started off with the first corner of the game. Rodden whips the ball into the front post where Crooks is there to head it home to make it 1-0. There's another chance for Strolls. Great play by Baldy in the left sets up Young. Connolly turns around the post. The ball is whipped in from the corner, and Shaw, who's all the space in the world, the fastest shot, but to keep it 1-0 to Shire. In the second half, the chance had been coming. And Civil's equalised with a ball in from the corner, finds Johnny Moffat, who heads home to make it 1 each. There was a final chance in the 85th minute where Connolly was standing on his line with Civil Service free kick, and Baldy had a chance. Unfortunately, headed over the crossbar, and it ended 1-1. Civil probably would have been hoped to get a result there, but away from home against Shire, probably a good point on their travels.
Yeah, these games have a. I think I said I think I sort of went with East Stirlingshire for this result, but these games tend to be close between the sides. We tend to see a lot of goals, but Civil have been really sort of compact, really hard to break down this season. So it's not surprised that the games ended 1-1. But I did feel certainly from what I read that Civil maybe had the better of the chances, and probably out of both teams probably would be a wee bit gutted not to come away with all 3 points. But decent draw for both sides considering the strength of both sides, I would say. Yeah,
I mean that's it. I think Civil, they look like very capable side, and obviously they were playing away from home against a team like Shire. We know what Shire are capable of. They maybe haven't started as well as they would have liked to, but in terms of Civil, I mean, got to take the point, and you're still keeping tabs with Bonnyrigg at the top. It was probably their chance to go top and kind of maybe push that lead out a little bit on Bonnyrigg, but I mean they're still right up there, and it's a long season, so I don't think Civil will be too disappointed with that result. So the next game then was University of Stirling versus Bonnyrigg Rangers at Forth Bank Stadium. It was a 3-1 win for Bonnyrigg Rangers. First goal came in the 30th minute. Bonnyrigg lose the ball in midfield, and the ball is played out to the byline. A low ball comes in from the right, and it's slotted in from the close range by Jamie Stokes to give Uni the lead 1-0. Just before half time, it was Scott Taylor McKenzie who levelled just as about the half time whistle was about to get blown. After Ferguson was brought down following a great link up play between him and Taylor. So one each at half time there. For the 78th minute, substitute Sean Stewart plays a beautiful flick ball through to Taylor, who opens his body and finishes well into the far corner to give Bonnyrigg the lead. And then it was in the 86th minute they got the third, where the home side lose the ball in their own half, and Stewart collects the ball, lays it into Nelson. Instead of opting to shoot, the midfielder lays it back to Taylor, and he gets his second of the game to finish 3-1. Good result for Bonnyrigg again on the travels. I must admit, they're looking to kind of obviously probably had a bit of a slow start themselves. They're starting to get the wins on the board now and look like they're going to start to slowly climb that table.
Yeah, I think the knock on Bonnyrigg has always been the fact that they've kind of struggled for goals. Certainly that was the first time this season that they've scored more than two, and only the second time they've scored more than one. So I said on my preview, I thought University of Stirling coming off the Cumbernauld Colts game, I thought they might have been going into this full of confidence. But then again, I think I probably discounted the fact that Bonnyrigg Rangers were also coming off a really good result against Albiete Star. So they looked threatening against Albiete Star. I just think if they can be more clinical like they've been at the weekend there, especially through guys like Graham Taylor, who seems to be a real decent pickup for them. I think it was at Cownbeef last season. I mean, he was in our team of the month for July, so he looks like he's doing really well. Obviously, guys like Sean Stewart coming off from the sub bench. By all accounts, I think Bonnyrigg really deserved the win. I believe Stirling played better in the first half, but for me, it was interesting what Chris said in his interview. He said basically, sometimes we forget with Stirling Uni because they do have sort of game changers and Robbie McGale and Jamie Penker, but they are still young lads, still learning. Yep. And I think one of the things he said was he felt that they were all looking to someone else to maybe make things happen. And obviously, if you're a more experienced, more senior sort of player, you kind of put the onus on yourself. Whereas Chris felt that some of the boys were looking at Jamie or looking at Robbie, as he said in his interview. So it's a learning curve. But full credit to Bonnyrigg Rangers. I've not really backed them too much this season because of what I guess I've put the label on them that they can't seem to score a lot of goals. But yeah, proving me wrong against Stirling Uni. If they continue to do that, I think they'll be moving up the league pretty fast.
Okay, next game then is Galliferdine Rovers versus Cali Braves, and it was a 5-1 victory for Galliferdine Rovers.
I think we've had this debate before where we're not sure if they were going to push like they did last season, but they've certainly, the last 3 games they've won at the Netherdale, so they're kind of making the Netherdale a bit of a fortress again, which is great for them. They opened the scoring on the 14th minute through Mark Berry. Caledonia Braves did equalise on the 26th minute, but Mark Berry got his brace just before half-time on the 43rd minute, and a penalty from Darryl Healy put Galliferdine Rovers 3-1 up, and Martin Scott in the 57th minute and Callum Hall an excellent strike on the 59th to complete the scoring 5-1. Callum Hall, I'm not sure how many games he plays left back. Obviously he's a bit of a right footer, but basically ran down the left, sort of cuts in with his right and just shoots, in a fantastic strike for him. I don't know if he scored many like that, but yeah, he'll be playing more at left back now if he can do that. I did say last week I felt it was probably, I didn't think much of Cali Braves' performance against Bonnyrigg. I did feel like they probably deserved a draw, but it's difficult because you kind of, it's hard to call this league, as you know yourself, Ben. Sometimes you feel like teams might be spurred on from a poor performance or a good performance, but it's trying to find that consistency. Galliferdine now look like they're finding a wee bit of consistency at home where they're picking up wins here and there. When you're a mid-table team looking to push, that's exactly what you need to do. Cali Braves, they'll be disappointed. We talk about spells in games. I mean, they've conceded 2 just before half-time, and then they've conceded another 2 just before the hour mark. So something they really need to work on, but I still feel like Cali Braves have moved forward, but again, it comes down to consistency, not just for them, but for all teams. They need to sort of really build on good performances, or even bad performances. But full credit to Gallifreydine Rovers. They're doing really well, especially at home. As I said, making the Netherdale a fortress again, like we're used to seeing in previous seasons.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Kilbride, the games that they've probably played really well, the games that would probably surprise us a little bit. I think that's the thing that stands out here. I mean, maybe thought they could have maybe done that against Gala, but fair play to Gala, they've come out there and set their stall out quite quickly, got the early goal, and then, as you say, the goal just before kind of half time probably just kind of killed the game a little bit. It makes it less of a battle, I guess, for them second half, and they managed to obviously capitalise on that and then kicked on and got a decent result. So they'll just be looking to build on that for the next game, and don't see why not. They're just going about their business quite quietly, but yeah, fair play to Gala. All right, then the next game is everybody's favourites, the Rangers B versus Gretna at Dumbarton Stadium. It was a 9-1 victory for Rangers B. It started off in the 10th minute with the Gretna goalkeeper Matthew Connolly getting shown a straight red card for handling the ball outside the box. However, down to 10 men, Gretna opened the scoring through Robbie Iverson. Probably caught everyone off guard, that then taking the lead there, but it wasn't before too long that Rangers B then kicked on and managed to put 9 past Gretna with goals with a hat-trick from Tony Weston and Chris McKee, a brace for Robbie Fraser, and a goal from Kane Richie Hosler. Another good result for Rangers B, and they'll be shocked that happened because nobody wins by big margins in the Lowland League, let's be honest, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, some of the... this is what I was saying about the Bonnyrigg Rose game getting a wee bit, ignored for the fact that the Colts team have hammered the likes of Gretna and Vela Leven. And in fairness to Vela Leven, we probably expected a big scoreline against Celtic B. Well, maybe not 10, but certainly, and anyone that sort of knows this level, you probably look at that and say, yeah, they're probably going to be in for a rough time. In fairness to Gretna, I mean, they were down to 10 men. They've kind of made a habit of players being sent off and then them taking the scoring. They've done the same against East Stirlingshire, but they had 2 trialists in the starting lineup and 1 on the bench. They've just not got the numbers yet. They've not got a settled squad, so it's even harder when you're coming up against let's face it, a really good Rangers B side. I mean, they beat Dumbarton in the cup midweek, so you're looking at players like Tony Weston, like Chris McKee, that obviously could play higher up, and you've got a squad of boys at Gretna, youth players that probably didn't play at the youth level compared to like Rangers Celtic, that played probably lower end, like your Greenock Mortons and stuff like that. So looking at the circumstances, it's very harsh on Gretna, but let's face it, I mean, on their day, I think Rangers B probably could do that to a lot of other teams. And I don't think people, let's face it, I mean, we've seen big scorelines in the past in the Lowland League, but people just want to sort of choose the narrative that's Colt sides running amok, which is it's total nonsense. Basically, that's my feeling about it,
I think you're absolutely right with that point. We've been following this league for a number of years, or certainly I have. You guys probably a lot longer than me, and let's face it, nobody's shocked by no disrespect to a team like Vale getting beat maybe 5-6-0 off a team at the top end of the table. So the only difference right now is that Rangers B and Celtic B are involved in this league now, and not everyone's happy with that situation and trying to make it a mockery of the league in the situation. But really, let's be honest, that could have happened pretty much by, I say, probably about 5 or 6 sides in this league already, if Rangers and Celtic B weren't here. I think the fact that the exposure to that result, it just shows what Rangers and Celtic B probably bring to the league itself. The fact that nobody even heard of Vale even probably until Celtic B put 10 past them, and that's the thing that we've talked about at the beginning, is the fact that there'll be more exposure to the league because of them being involved, and that's probably the truest statement that you'll see because of that result. And maybe not the perfect exposure for the other teams, but in terms of the league, the only reason that people know about it is because Celtic B and Rangers B are involved. So the people that are online and talking about it as if it's some sort of joke and it's only happened now is just people that are naive and don't know enough about the league itself, and they probably need to wake up and smell the coffee and realise that this happens more on a more regular basis than they're making out.
My one argument, I think we'll get to in the South Challenge Cup final, but it happens at all tiers. There's certainly teams that are either above their level or below their level in all tiers, and it's not just these shock results that you see in the Lowland League. You see it in the east of Scotland, the west of Scotland, sometimes even the south of Scotland. So, yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock into a Colts team beating a Vale Leaving or a Gretna, because we're taking away how quality and how talented these young lads are. Certainly, from if we'll just cover the Vale Leaving Celtic B game at Victoria Park quickly, but guys like Owen Moffat, I mean, he scored 5 goals. He was playing more of an attacking role. Joey Dawson too, Mackenzie Carse with a goal. Bosun Lowell, who spent a lot of money. They spent a lot of money bringing into the club. Money that obviously no Lowland League team has to bring in, and Rocco Vata, who we've talked about. So I think that equals the away record or the away win. If I remember correctly, I think Selkirk had beaten Hawick 10-0 way back in 2017. So yeah, I mean, these results happen again at all levels. I think people are just too hung up on the fact that it's the Colts team and they see the competition as some sort of joke, but you just have to look at Kelty results last season, East Kilbride previously, Bonnyrigg Rose. These results happen, you know what I mean? And it's not just in the Lowland League, it's not just about the Colt sides, I would suggest.
Well, that's it. I mean, you mentioned Bonnyrigg there. They won 7-0 against Edinburgh Uni. You're probably expecting Rangers B or Celtic B to go out and do a similar kind of job on Edinburgh Uni. No disrespect to them, but nobody's talking about Bonnyrigg Rose and winning 7-0, and it's all about the two Old Firm teams, and that's fine for kind of mainstream Scottish football and to be like that, but show a bit of respect, I think, for the league itself, and stop making out there's some sort of joke and some sort of Diddy league. Like some of the phrases are kind of being banded about, and because Rangers and Celtic B are still not, like, I wouldn't say they're going to be runaway leaders of the league. I mean, they're going to be in a battle, and whether or not they win the league, I'm not even sure. I think looking at Bonnyrigg, I think they've probably got a right good chance of beating both those sides, and at the end of the day, that the whole point of them being here is to give them a year to kind of to bridge the gap between potentially joining League Two. Now, if I know we've talked about this before, and Moz has said it right from the start that if Rangers B and Celtic B don't finish in that top two spots, it doesn't give them much of a support to be in that League Two, and so I think that's the thing we need to keep in mind here, is that they're not as it's not as ridiculous as everyone's making out it to be, and let's actually just talk about the football rather than the decisions that people keep harking back to that have been made. The decisions have been done, and they're in the league and they're playing, and the people who are playing them week in, week out are probably quite receptive to playing them. It seems to be positive enough that when those teams come to play, or they go to the home grounds of these teams, the Old Firm teams. So yeah, I think people just need to get a grip really, and just really think about what they're saying sometimes, because it doesn't make a lot of sense when you're trying to fit that narrative into something that's not. So we'll see what happens, but I'm sure we'll hear more about that over the course of the season, and people will be full of themselves and talking about it as soon as Rangers or Celtic B beat another team 7-8-0, 9-0, whatever it is to be. All right then, and that's the roundup of the Lowland League action. There was one match involving a Lowland League team, and it was in the South Challenge Cup. It was the final from 2019 to 2020. It was Dunipace versus Broomhill, and unfortunately for Broomhill, it was a 3-1 victory for Dunipace, and they lifted the trophy in the South Challenge Cup finals. Going back in time almost to 2019, the team that probably qualified for potentially both those teams are probably nowhere to be seen, and they've got potentially a whole new squad. Certainly in Broomhill's eyes, they've brought in a lot of guys, and I guess there's another instance of a situation where there's a kind of a lower level team beating a Lowland League side, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Dunipace squad, what I said in my preview last week to yourself and Derek, I felt that they had a chance because look at their squad. I mean, proven guys at SPFL level, Lowland League level, East of Scotland Premier level, and they're in one of the East of Scotland conferences now. I tend to look at the players rather than the they are, the tiers, because I mean, even in the West, if you look at teams like Drumchapel, for example, you could probably say that they would be a decent West of Scotland Premier outfit.
Totally, yes. St Cadoc's probably another good example of that. You're right. There's certainly teams here that play a little bit far down the levels, but they've still got great squads. I mean, look at like the Dunipace squad. They had David Grant last year. He was at, I think, Darvel, and he's a great player, and he was capable at the top end of the West Premier, and he's now moved across to play in the East Conferences. But I mean, that's the thing. I think again, people are kind of making a bit about this, the fact that Broomhill were beaten. But again, people probably don't know the backstory. There's a lot of hate around Broomhill because the stuff around kind of the decisions that were made to bring in the Coles, and I think there's a lot of it's quite unjust. To be quite honest, I don't think it's fair on Broomhill to be like that. And let's not forget as well with Broomhill, they beat Clyde during the week in the SPL Trust trophy. So that's a good result for them. Unfortunate day for Broomhill, but full credit to Dunipace. They've also got a good team, and they'll be more than capable in that conference, and I'm sure they'll do well in the conference. But I think as well, you look at kind of David Gormley coming into the job at Broomhill. He's still trying to find his squad. He's starting to get there in terms of finding the players that are he can rely on to play week in, week out. I mean, he's still, I think, playing Mick Dunlop as playing assistant manager in the team. I noticed there in the lineup. So still trying to find that squad and get that sorted out. But great result for Dunipace. Fair play to them, and congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, if you just look at the goal scorers for Dunipace, so Jordan Heron started the season off at Bo'ness. I think he quickly went to Dunipace. Then David Morrison was at Camelin last season, and obviously we've spoken about David Grant. Scott Cusick got the goal for Broomhill, but I think from what I've heard, the better team won on the day. But the red card to Jack McCalman probably didn't help Broomhill. But I think we've got to look past this tier stuff. I know there's certain people that want to see more relegations. We're on your side there. We're on your side, 100%. But it's not the problem is obviously the structure at the moment, because we've got 3 tiers, South of Scotland, East of Scotland, West of Scotland. They need to figure out a way on how to either free automatic or, it really depends, because then obviously South of Scotland, you've probably got more license issues that come up than the West of Scotland and East of Scotland. So it's all complicated. And then the thing is, I mean, we could all have more than one team get relegated from the Lowland League. If, for example, a Highland team gets promoted and then a team gets relegated to the Lowland League from the SPFL. So it's all sort of complicated. We also agree that, that we feel it should be a bit more straightforward, but it has to trickle down from all levels. But yeah, we're for more relegation. It's just how do we work it out in a fair manner? I mean, that's not for us. I said to a guy the other day on Twitter, it's like, we don't make the decisions, pal. We agree with you, but don't take out on us, man.
Well, that's it. I think we've done this to death in terms of relegation. We're all absolutely for it. And I think the league as well have said that we want to bring in. I think we spoke to George Fraser earlier in the year, and I think the phrase he always uses was ventilation, and that's something that it's obviously on the radar in terms of the league, and they're seeing the teams in the East and probably more recently the teams in the West who have got licenses and are looking to progress. And there'll be a lot of teams in both those conferences. Then you have the South as well. Probably less teams have got the license and the license there, but plenty of teams who want to progress. It's just a matter of time before that relegation promotion kind of window is opened up a bit more and allows more teams to come through. Because I think as somebody from the West who have championed the West sides all day, that there's a lot of teams in that West League, and will be the same in the East, that they'll be more than capable of battling at the top end of that Lowland League. Absolutely no doubt about it, and that's what we need to get to, is probably get to a point where that league has more east sides and more west sides, and those teams who are kind of down at the bottom and kind of just muddling in because they've joined the league at the right time back in, was it 2013 or something like that, when the Lowland League started, which is fine, because the teams in the West and some of the teams in the East probably didn't want to go to the Lowland, and the teams that stood up, like your Edinburgh Unis, Gretna, Vale, all these sort of teams who are probably near the bottom, have stood up and went to play in the Lowland League. So fair play, but I mean, the time will probably come. Let's be honest, that these West and East teams, and potentially South teams as well, will be coming up, and that the order in the league will change. And I think, for me, the Lowland League will become one of the most competitive leagues in Scotland, because there will be teams that will slowly but surely come up. Don't get me wrong, there'll be teams in the Lowland who we expect to get promoted and move up through into League Two at some point. So yeah, we want it to happen. It just has to, a matter of time, I think, for me.
Yeah, we've got to remember the Lowland League's only been going on since 2013, and then, you know, the East Juniors only jumped 3-4 seasons ago. West of Scotland only jumped to the Pyramid. So it's like, yeah, we can't just suddenly relegate half the league because people want that. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work that way. I mean, you know, I know George spoke about a Lowland League too. I'd rather not see that. I'd rather not see another tier. But I believe in more ventilation. I do believe that the likes of whoever's bottom, for example, if it's Vale even, I think they definitely need to get relegated this season. You know, regardless of your feelings on it, if they should have been spared or not over the last sort of couple of seasons, I think they should. I think there is something I need to sort of clear up with Moza, but I do believe there is a way that they won't get relegated again this season, which I wouldn't agree with. I think it's if basically a Lowland League team get promoted or something like that. I've not really looked into it, but I wouldn't like to see that. You know, and no offense to Vale leaving, but I do think it's their season to get relegated if that is going to be the case. But it's, yeah, the thing is, I mean, this word's going around, and I totally do not accept it, but like a lot of people use this phrase franchise clubs when talking about Caledonian Braves and not BSC Glasgow, sorry, Broomhill. But I mean, franchise clubs, it's not Red Bull, you know what I mean? If maybe Chris Ewan called Caledonian Braves Alba Cola FC, then maybe I would say they had a point. But I somewhat can understand their thinking behind that, because when I first started covering the Lowland League, I was looking at the uni teams and was like, uni teams, don't really rate them too much. And then community clubs, you know, community clubs, they're not as good as the junior sides. So I've been off that way of thinking too. But then you sort of look at the community clubs like Cumbernauld Colts. Look at their history. Who played for the Cumbernauld Colts? I mean, Jackie McNamara, Derek White. Look at Lothian Thistle Hutchie Vale, the players that have played for them that have went on, and you know, Danny Galbraith, for example, and a lot of the guys that have went to Hibs and Hearts. So a wee bit more respect, I think, for these clubs.
I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of like a kind of snobbery around these kind of clubs. I've seen it myself with the likes of Bonnet and have came in this year to the West, and obviously they're a community club, a youth pathway that are doing really well. However, there's a lot of kind of, I don't want to play in an artificial pitch. You know, they call this arena, and people are slagging them off. But they're a new club, and at this level, and they're trying to. And obviously, I know Bonnie probably the wrong example because they were in the south before they moved across. But I think that's it. I think there's a snobbery around a lot of these kind of teams, and in both West, the East, even the Lowland, and that's just something you're going to have to just deal with and accept. But I think from my perspective, I just like to see these teams kind of do well and progress. When you look at, I think I can't remember if I've mentioned Ardere Thistle this year, but they're one of the teams for me that were probably, I'll be quite honest with them, a bit of a joke club, because they were getting beat probably 7-8-0 every week off of teams in the West Juniors, and they have made some changes. They've kind of been taken over by a new manager who brought in his old kind of amateur squad, and they're sitting, I think, second or third in the league now, and they're totally transformation, and that's the thing. There's a snobbery, but you've got to give the teams the credit who are trying, because I think it's quite easy to be a team at the bottom and just accept your fate and just kind of go through the motions. That's no fun for anyone, really. Let's be honest. But I think that's the thing about Scottish football as a whole. I don't think it's just something at our level. I think you go right to the top. There's a bit of a snobbery right through the leagues, but it's always it's an added bit of kind of added bit of controversy, probably the wrong word, but it adds a bit to the story and the league itself. And I think you look at like Darvel as another example where they're obviously spending a lot of money around to build their squad and stuff, but it just adds a bit to the whole kind of the story of the leagues and things like that, and that's what I think people should get on board with and go and enjoy that game because you want to beat them because they are the team that've got the money, or you don't like them because they're a community club. That just adds a bit of fuel to the fire, I think, for me. But that's not going to change, I think, now in Scottish football. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's not our job to obviously change any attitudes or anything like that. But I mean, just Cali Braves always feel a wee bit sorry because in the sense, I mean, what Chris Hugh's achieved is pretty much a dream of anyone in anyone that likes football.
100%.
I mean, you can create your own amateur or Sunday league team, but to get into a pyramid with your own team and do what they've done, basically. I know it's kind of like online and international and stuff like that, but I really applaud Chris and respect Chris for what he's done.
Absolutely.
And to have, the facilities they have at Alliance Park, to have the great coverage they have for the team. I mean, at this level, it beats some SPFL teams what they're doing in terms of coverage and on the app and games, live games and stuff like that. So, but of course, everyone's going to look at it and be like, oh, it's artificial, it's franchise. It's like, come on, man. It's like, they're actually doing a lot to get eyes on themselves and also the league. So, I don't want to go on about coverage because then people will be like, oh, you said coverage about the Colts and all that sort of nonsense. It's like, yeah, but, I don't want to say too much on that because that will be brought up again in various forums or whatever about coverage of the league, But
it'll be seen in Pive and Boyful by next week. It'll be there.
I applaud these teams. I applaud these teams that are actually trying. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we've seen, I think I've said it before, but we've seen a massive improvement at all tiers in terms of the coverage, especially online. Look at Clydebank, for example, what they've done for Nicky Little, for his, I think it was 100th game or 100th goal or something like that.
100th goal, yeah.
Yeah, and just brilliant. I really appreciate that sort of stuff. And fair play to Nicky Little. We shout out for him there.
Shout out to Brockett as well. Dave Brockett at Clydebank. He's one of the guys I would say is leading the way in the West in terms of media coverage. I mean, the output there from Clydebank is something I'll only aspire to at co-winning, but got to commend them for what they're doing. And it's the same across the board in both the East and the West. I've seen a lot of good stuff certainly probably more so during the pandemic. We had lockdown and we're maybe like had more time to look at other clubs, and I think for me one of the ones that stood out was Broxburn. I thought they were doing during the pandemic and their live streams and the quality they were putting out on that side of things was excellent. I watched that thing against Avon Meadow in the cup, but then decided to watch them a couple more times because I knew I was going to guarantee a decent quality stream and stuff like that. And that's the thing. You just got to. It's good for the league. I think that's the thing. I think I talked about this on the way home from Rossvale on Saturday that we do a kind of post-match interview with the manager every single Saturday or Wednesday, whenever it is after the game, and Chris comes out and always has a conversation with myself and the camera and a player, and it just adds to that level of professionalism, I feel, across the league when you see teams putting out the coverage, putting out the highlights. Was at Rutherglen last week as well, and was chatting to those guys, and you look at the highlights they were putting out. They were hitting, I think, the other night, and it was about 1.2k views they were hitting on the Rutherglen YouTube channel. So things like that, I mean, it's impressive. It's all been done. Let's not forget, all this has been done by pretty much people who are doing it as a hobby or to get maybe a bit more experience within maybe a career. I mean, I certainly don't get paid to do that. I know Moz is probably the same in terms of Broomhill and all the guys at Broomhill that do the stuff. We do this podcast for our own, not for our own benefit, but certainly to enjoy it rather than have any sort of kind of financial gain or any real kind of intentions to do anything but apart from provide a platform for the teams and showcase the teams and the players and create discussion with the fans, and that's all that. It's all good for the league at the end of the day. Let's face it, that's the thing about all these different teams doing good work in terms of media, fan media that you see kicking about. There's plenty now podcasts and not just ourselves that are doing good things to talk up the leagues. That's the important thing, that we're here to try and, because ultimately what that does is attract more fans to the games, and that's what we want. We want people to decide to go and watch a Bonnyrigg or a Boness or a Gala, for example. Rather than going and watching Rangers or Celtic or Hearts or Hibs or whatever it is, United Dundee, and go and watch your local side, because you ultimately you'll enjoy it more, I would say. Go on that journey and go and really enjoy being part of something. I think that's the thing that you get when you're at this level. You're really a part. You get to know the players inside out, whereas you don't get that when you go and follow Rangers and Celtic or Hibs and Hearts, whatever. You know them, you're fans of them, but you don't get to know the people and the individuals, and that's what I think everyone enjoys about the Lowland League, the West, the East, the South. That kind of community feeling that you get out of being part of that kind of. I think the phrase family club, isn't it? I use quite a lot, and that's what you get. And you go on that, you do it together, you win together, you lose together, and that's what's really important. And if we can get more people coming to watching this level of football, then it's a result. Let's face it.
Having said that, though, Ben, I do feel like that it's becoming. I think we done it at the right time when we started the Catchup a few years ago, when we were properly affiliated with the Lowland League. I think it's becoming a bit of an oversaturated market now. Would you not agree with the fan media? It seems like everyone's got a podcast these days. But yeah, I like what you said, because it's true. I don't think, although we are kind of the voices, or it's our opinions at the end of the day. Certainly, I always feel like for me, it was always about the players and the clubs. I know we disagree with certain people in certain instances, and clubs and managers can have issues with what we say, but it was always about highlighting the league and promoting the league, and I do feel the fan media thing's getting to. I don't know when the bubble's going to burst with it, so hopefully it doesn't burst with us.
It's one of those ones that you've probably seen that probably lockdown's got a lot of to answer for with that people got a lot more time and went to do podcasts and YouTube channels and streaming and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. I mean, everyone will know the decent outlets to go to, and I think the thing for me I like about the fan kind of type media, I guess you got fan media. I always think of fan media being kind of about the club itself, rather than kind of when you probably think of Arsenal fan TV, these types of things, Cop TV, whatever it is that you get on the kind of the bigger clubs. But we've got to remember a lot of the mainstream media is absolutely dog shit in terms of opinion and things like that. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we all know it. We see it all the time, and I guess you look at it a bit like an alternative view. Some people might take our opinion with a pinch of salt. Other people might quite find our points valid and really respect our views, and that's what the beauty of media is. You don't have to agree with everything everybody says, and that's okay. You're allowed to not agree, and you can get upset if you want. But let's be honest, if you're getting upset because three guys from across Scotland are saying negative things about your club, and it's probably need to get kind of. You can't take the heat, get the kitchen, isn't it? It's that kind of take it with a pinch of salt and ignore it or move on, or but don't get too upset. It's nothing's personal. Let's be honest. I think that's the thing to think about.
I always thought that as well. Like, it's interesting what you said about stock, because I don't think we put I've never felt that you should really put a lot of stock into what I say. I mean, I'm only commenting on the games and I'll throw my opinion in here and there. But some people do, and I do respect that, and I respect what the managers and players have to say as well. But yeah, we're open to criticism as well. I mean, we can get it wrong. But I think, it's interesting what you said about the mainstream media, because I read something about like Aberdeen are the most exciting team to watch or something in the Scottish Premier, then they get pumped out the cup by Raith Rovers. Yeah, stuff like that. You can be wrong. Anyone can be wrong. That's the thing about throwing an opinion out there. I quite like it when I'm proven wrong, especially with like civil service rollers that'll beat this season. I'm overjoyed that these teams are actually doing a lot better than I thought because at the end of the day we cover the whole league. I'm not gonna lie, I have my favourites like seeing Stirling Uni do well, for example. But realistically, I'm a fan of the league more than a fan of any of the clubs, if that makes sense.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. We talk up the teams that deserve to be talked up, and if something happens that we don't like, I mean, we're perfectly within our rights to talk about it and the situations that maybe occur. And you might agree with it, Chris, but I might not, and Derry might have a different opinion as well. And that's what's the beauty of this podcast. We bring different opinions to the table, and we have debates within ourselves about different things. And some people agree with what I say, some people agree with what you say, but they might not agree with Derek, for example. And it's one of those things. It's great. And if you do have a different opinion, I want to hear from you. I'm keen to discuss it. I mean, if you don't agree with what I've got to say, then fine. I mean, I'm okay with you doing that, but come and we can have a chat about it if you really want to. But I mean, if you don't, enjoy the podcast and listen in, and you can take their views, because let's face it, as I said, some people will respect us and some people won't, and that's just part and parcel of any media. Like you said, like I just said, to me, a lot of the mainstream media is dog shit, and that's what I think about. A lot of time when I see there's some people in mainstream media who I really respect and will value their opinion quite highly, and there's others I just look at it and go, oh, that's such and such. I'm not really even going to read that article because I know it's going to be a pile of crap, and that's just how it is, and that's the same for us and the same for any other fan media. There's obviously different podcasts across both the West, the East, the Lowland and the lower leagues as well, and in League One and League Two. And we've all probably got different views and different takes on different situations, and that's the beauty of it. Obviously, no one's got enough time in the world to sit and listen to probably 8 or 9, 10 podcasts a week. I mean, if you do, fair play. If you're going to listen to the same topic every night, and I'll admire you for that. But you pick your podcast here, or pick your fan media you want to watch and listen to, the ones you value, and do that. And if you don't like us, if you don't like someone else, then that's fine. Just go and
that's another thing though, Ben. I think I'm quite my memory's terrible. Like I probably can't remember what I said in the last sort of 2 podcasts, but I think I'm quite consistent with my beliefs of a team. But my opinion can change. Like I could think, oh, well, Strollers aren't going to have a good season. Then I start seeing the results coming in and saying, well, actually, maybe I was wrong. You know what I mean? So opinions can change as well through time. So, it's all interesting, mate. But yeah, I mean, Moza, I think for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because he's also involved with Broomhill, one of the teams that gets a lot of stick, and obviously he's on Twitch, so he's kind of out there in terms of a face of it, but. Yeah, I mean, personal insults like twat in the hat. I mean, I think it's quite funny, and he takes humour in that. But like, yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that there are people behind the scenes. I mean, there's certain things I've had with my mental health that I probably would take the wrong way. Like players, I mean, it's like what I mentioned about Jamie Walker, for example. I don't know Jamie Walker personally, but if I felt that I was, mentioning here, obviously in a joking way, but if I knew he was going to take that personally and it affected his mental health, I wouldn't say it, for example. So yeah, I always try not to make things personal, and when it gets to a point where I feel it's getting personal, I just cut ties and say, look, that's there's no point in us interacting anymore, because it's got to a point. I always believe that I'm talking about football. Jamie Walker things, humour aside or whatever, but hopefully, I would, the way I see it is, for example, if Jamie or Caledonian Braves had an issue with what I said, I would like them to come and speak to me or message me, you know what I mean? And that's the way I've always been. And certainly there's been loads of times where managers and players have not been happy with what we said, but I think the majority of the time the guys have messaged us and said, look, I didn't agree with this because of that, or you've missed this, you've not included this, this happened in the game and you've not mentioned it, sort of thing. So I appreciate that, and those are the guys that I think I've built a bit of respect for.
Yeah.
And I speak to, I'm not like overly regularly, but there's guys I speak to all clubs throughout the season, and but yeah, opinions are a strange one because they can, in my mind, my opinions changed and can change throughout the season. It's not, and it's more based on what I'm seeing in terms of football and results and whatever else,
That's it. I think we're all doing it for fun because we love football, and we want to have a hobby that's not just watching the games on a Saturday and supporting your team. That's why we're involved. As I said before, we're not here to take over our lives and basically turn us into a job. We do it for fun. If we didn't find it fun, we would stop doing it. As simple as that. So I think that's the thing that people think maybe take things too seriously sometimes and get really upset by situations. And it's like, just take a breath and just relax and just take it at face value and just move on. And if you don't like it, then that's fine. If you do want to debate it, then come and debate it. If you agree with it, then brilliant. Hit a retweet and whatever you need to do and to show that support, and that's cool. But I think we've probably dwelled on that for quite a bit. So let's shout out to our sponsor, the Soccer Shop Direct. Check them out on Twitter at the Soccer Shop D, or check out their website www.soccershopdirect.com for all your teamwear and football equipment needs. If you want to get in touch with me, get me on Twitter. It's at Mr. Ben Grant. You'll get Moza at Moza Plays and all the good stuff on all his sites as well. Chris, how do we find out about the Catchup and yourself?
at official Catchup on Twitter. Google official Catchup or Lowland League Catchup. It'll be everywhere else. For myself, it's at Rampant FM on Twitter. And I I need to push Moza to change his handle to the Twat in the Hat. That would be
Twat in the Hat. That's it.
I do like that. I do.
Twitch partner, the Twat in the Hat. There we go. That could be his new name. He could remodel himself. Just get a big hat range come out and sit on.
I think
snapbacks and beanies.
I think it's too much. I think it's maybe a wee bit too much for some people that he's got his own name on his hat. I think.
That's it. I mean, I always say wear like a badge of honour. All the hatred, I'm all for it. Send it on. You know what? You know my Twitter account. If you want to do it in pie and bovril, and honestly, crack on as well because I'm all for it. No press is bad press, as I told Mick Kennedy this afternoon on Twitter. I welcome the hate, as the saying goes. Anyway, wrapping that up there for another episode of the Catch Up. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you all soon. Cheers.